Hey everyone, it's Brennan with BC Labs, and today I'm kind of going over some of the best accessories that you can get with a Quest 2. So, a lot of people got a Quest 2 or a Quest 3 for Christmas this year, and unfortunately, the default accessories or components with the device aren't always comfortable for everybody. So, it's nice to know some options if you're trying to strive for a little bit more comfort for yourself or for the person you gifted to. So, I have the Quest 2 here. This is the stock strap. And so that's one of the first things I want to talk about is that the stock strap is okay. The good thing about these devices is they are self-contained, so for the most part, they are sufficient. It's a nice option to be able to get a different strap if you feel like the headset puts a little too much weight on the front of your face. So right here, a lot of the weight is sagging down, and then that can cause a lot of jitter when you shake your head. And so you have to strap this down pretty tight to get rid of some of that. And a lot of the weight is coming down off of the front, and this can cause some issues. I, for one, find the default strap comfortable enough. However, I did end up investing, this is a Quest 3, for example, but I ended up investing in the Bobo VR M2, M3 ecosystem. However, there's other options, like Kiwi Design has an elite strap-like Headstrap. So it's more, I don't think I have an example here, unfortunately, but it is more similar to as if you had this strap with a plastic piece here and plastic going around. So similar to as if this part mounted directly to these arms. And I'll put it up for an example. But it still tightens in a very similar way using a ratcheting gear like this. However, its battery is built into this module. So there's trade-offs there between the Halo style strap actually puts a little bit of pressure on your forehead, but also helps alleviate the pressure on the top of your head and the sides. But for the Quest 2, both of those are good options, as well as because the Quest 2 has been on the market for, three or so years now, you have so many third-party options, some of which from Amazon, or you can get them from abroad. So that's just something to keep in mind. Those are some options for you. But I wanted to mention that specifically because, unfortunately, I feel like Meta's default strap solution that's on here is insufficient for some, and then the options that they offer first party, especially for the Quest 2, were not great. I don't know if they fully fixed it. I've heard mixed stories of it, but they stopped the sale of the Elite strap at various points because the plastic was very brittle at this point and would break. And so people have been very leery to recommend the Elite strap for the Quest 2 for that reason. Same thing with any other stock straps they offered, kind of a swing and a miss. Now, to move on, there is the facial interface. So for the Quest 2, I was unfortunate enough to get the stock interface that had the original foam that was known to cause skin irritation. Now, for me, it wasn't too much of an issue, although occasionally it did seem to kind of bother me a little bit. It caused some redness, but not like an allergic reaction. So I went ahead and put in during their program, and they sent a VR cover version. If you still have the original interface, and I don't know what the Quest 2 is shipping with right now, but if it's similar to this foam-style interface, I personally would recommend getting something like the VR cover. I think, is it AMVR also has an interesting design. There's a couple different companies at this point that make really good facial interfaces for the Quest 2. There's also the option, depending on your needs, if it's just that the foam is a little uncomfortable or you're worried about sweating, this does absorb sweat really bad and it kind of gets cold and gross feeling. So if you're going to be doing a lot of exercise, if you're not going to move towards something like this, at least get something like a silicone sleeve cover. And that's pretty simple. It just goes on. Now, whether you end up putting it in front or behind, it doesn't really matter. The point being is that also most of these come with nose blinders, which is nice. And that's something the VR cover makes a huge difference for immersion. This is a lot cheaper than getting a different facial interface. This is like a few bucks for this sleeve. And then this is like 20, 30, 40 bucks, depending on the brand. But I just wanted to mention that because if you are new to VR, comfort is so important. I guess with this silicone sleeve, you don't have this problem. But if you replace the stock interface and you wear glasses, make sure the distance, the thickness is not changed. Because otherwise, you might end up rubbing your glasses against the lenses, and that's a no-go. So aside from facial interfaces, something like these, forgive me, they're very worn out, but something like these controller grips make a huge difference. But something like this makes a huge difference in the comfort of the device, because if you're familiar with the Index, there is a strap built onto those controllers, and that makes it so easy for shooting games, or even if you're using a bow or similar, you can kind of get fatigued from holding this button. And a lot of people, this is one of the main fingers, the only three fingers that seem to really hold the controller. So you might be tempted to release all the buttons if you let go of a gun versus just letting this go. And that can cause you to drop your controller. I mean, this stops you from dropping it to the floor, but that doesn't stop the immersion breaking drop to your wrist and having that weight down there. But on the Quest 2, there's tons of these on the market, so I'm not going to necessarily recommend this particular one, but I recommend getting one of these. So I think that's the core accessories for this device for the average user. I think there's really only so many things you can do to add to the experience. I mean, you could, of course, add headphones or etc., but that's more accustomed to personal taste. I think the Quest 2 and the Quest 3 both have reasonable enough speakers. I really never have felt the need to supplement the stock speakers. There's options, of course, but I don't think that's necessary. Now, if you want to go the route of a new head strap without spending the money, there are some almost like cradling kind of plastic material that you can get that's very similar to what this is on the Bobo VR. And it just goes, the stock strap actually runs through it, like you see here almost. The same strap actually runs through on your stock strap, but it still gives you the same cradling effect. I think that's nice. It gives lots of comfort without having to shell out the money for a full head strap. But you don't get the same battery benefits as you get for some of these more refined solutions. Okay, so finally, I'm using this as a sample because I don't have lens inserts for my Quest 2. These are from Zenni for the Quest 3, but you can get lens inserts So these are lens inserts for my Quest 3, and they are a game changer. Similar ones are offered on the Quest 2, and I'll try to link some of the companies that make them in the description. I'm going to try to provide links to all the main accessories I've discussed in the description, or at least to one of the styles. But yeah, for these lens inserts like that, you may have seen actually I did a recent short on it. Generally, you can use FSA money on these, which is a game changer for those who have a little bit of money left over to spend at the end of the year. As long as they're prescription, you're golden. So that's how I got my Quest 3 ones, is I had a little bit of money left over after I got my glasses. Why not? I play VR a lot. I use it for productivity. It makes sense. But on the Quest 2, you have a similar option. It's just they go over the Fresnel lenses instead of the pancake ones. But it's a great option if you wear glasses or contacts. For me, it's almost messes with my head because you go from not being able to see after you take these off and put your VR headset on and you can see again. It's kind of the feeling like almost like virtual reality is more real than reality because I can see in virtual reality. So it's a little trippy at first, but it's a huge benefit because you don't feel the moving around of your glasses slightly as your headset shifts around. You don't have to worry about your contacts drying out or sweat dripping into your eye. So much better. I highly recommend it. It is a chunk of change. It's usually 40 or 50 bucks. So I think that wraps up my Quest 2 suggestions for accessories that are on the market. Some of you may already know this. Again, the headset's been around for a while, but since a lot of people have bought this headset, like I think it was the #1 in VR sales on Amazon, and maybe even electronics. It was one of the most sold devices on Amazon during Black Friday and before leading up to Christmas. A lot of people now own a Quest 2 that may not have previously been in VR. So I really wanted to get this out there just in case anybody's missing this information. If you have any questions about this, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to reach out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.